Dad, what do you think about this supposed dialogue that Barrow is calling with the political class?
If we go all the way back, and this was just after the elections, and things were still hot, there were a lot of people advocating that there is a need to dial down the temperature. And Nyunfini even on the program, and I've even watched Mr. Dabo's interview at one time, and this was about whether he should reach out to Barrow or, so that they can sit down and iron out whatever differences. And his response was, look, I mean, it's not in my place to do that. He is the president. So if it's anything like reaching out, he should be the one initiating it. Now, look, if the president initiates it, whatever one thinks of his motivation, I honest to God believe that we need a national dialogue. At any time, in any democracy, Samba, I think sitting down, whatever differences that you guys may have, because it's not about personalities, it's about the country, it's about what you guys have in common. So for me, I think dialogue and sit down face to face, and you know how Gambians are. When we sit down, no matter whatever differences that we have, I think it helps. It what I would say, that projects another image for the average Gambian. Look, we're all in this together. And for me, if I were the opposition, that would give me an opportunity to look the president face à face and said, okay, Mr. President, these are some of the problems that we have. There was a reason why we came together and we come up to this point. There is a reason why we should all hands on deck. These are some of the problems that we have with you. And let the president be wah, mebetam. But if you're going to sit there and tell me, and I'm reading some of these, but you see, these loose cannons are the ones that are out there saying that UDP should not even get into that. I think UDP would, believe me, because there are a lot of sane people in that party, not some of these other guys that are out there saying, oh no, don't sit down and talk. What is that? What is it going to cost the party? Again, for me, I support the dialogue 100%, and I think it would definitely be even in the interest of the opposition party to sit down and talk, if you ask me. Because if they don't, I think politically that would be a bad mistake. That's my,
Yeah, man, I have a slightly different take. I have no problem with dialogue, especially if the objective is sincere and in the national interest. What concerns me though, we've seen recently the passing of the, what do they call it? The passing of the Commission of Inquiry Amendment Bill. Which gives the president now the powers to pardon those who've been, found liable by a commission or suspended or, deprived of holding public office for a long period. And the first move by the president was to pardon people, his supporters, not one that was based on, okay, maybe is this in the interest of the greater country or should I just do it for political reason? But I think yes, let's have dialogue. Why I also believe opposition B2 should make sure that they are not going to be used as a pawn in Barrow's desire to reconcile. Because my fear, Musa, I have a fear. Now, this may be used as a cover by Barrow to have his full reconciliation with the APRC, including the Holocaust deniers and everybody, and Yaya Jammeh. So this is just my fear. If it is done and the objective is just how do we unite the country, but also make sure that justice would prevail, and given the slow pace of justice in terms of victims, but I'm very wary of this whole thing. But I'll watch and see the outcome, because, and there is a reason for this. This guy, Musa, this Momodu Sabali pardoning. I knew about it way before even a bill was naka brought to the National Assembly. And the whole conversation surrounded this whole dialogue. You know, we need to have a dialogue, you know, where the president maybe say, Muna even Nakalatura pardon some people. And to me, I am just very skeptical about this whole thing. And given the everything that I've seen from Barrow and his government is always, you know, political is a transactional thing based on the end result of what is in it for NPP. I'll wait and see. I'm not going to go full blown, you know what, 100%.
I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing at Sundu Dave. When I say loose cannon, you know what would you borom kam.
Oh, yes.
That is why he responded. The loose cannon on this show. It's Musa Jeng.
And I am the same one. Thank you.
You're also a loose cannon.
Yeah.
But
Musa,
I'm Yange Bole, you bokut.
What do you mean, Yange Bole, you bokut?
Well, let me come. The question is, should we have a national dialogue? That was your question.
Yes.
You brought in the bill that was passed at the National Assembly for giving these, whatever. One can have an opinion. We can agree to disagree. One can be very critical of that issue. But to me, that should not determine whether we should sit down and have a dialogue or not. Now, your skepticism, and let me say this, my skepticism, your characterization that Barrow, everything that he does is transactional. I agree. But you see, the opposition need to tune. These are not people that will sit down with Barrow, then he doesn't have a monopoly on what the issues are going to be discussed. Baby, when we are talking about sitting down and talk about our country, the reason why they are sitting down is because they see things differently. The reason why we are sitting down is because we do not agree on the direction of the country. So this is a way, a platform that's going to be created. They are all going to be, look, around the same table. It's not like the president using the bully pulpit and imposing his ideas. They are all sitting around the table. I think it's a good thing. Any person, any politician who is afraid to sit and talk about the future of this country, there's something wrong with that. That leader.
More money. I want, if you're having, in fact, a conversation, sir, about the people, let's have a full disclosure about what this thing is all about. That's what I'm saying. I have zero problem with dialogue, zero problem with it. But my suspicion about Barrow and his ways
doesn't cut anything.
No, Musa, that's your. You can take your characterization. I have no qualms with what your position is. I have my different position, and nothing is going to change that. And that's why I'm saying I'm not going to go all gaga on it until I see what the outcome is. And based on what I've seen, I talk to these people more than you do. All right? I do not trust them, and I believe that if they have their way, it's just like, let me give you an example.
Let me ask you a question, because knowing what you know, and even though you are cynical and very suspicious of their intention, you're questioning their motivation, would you still think sitting down and having a national dialogue, a conference, is a good thing?
Well, Musa, I've said that I have no problem with that. But what I'm saying, while you are at it, no. While you are at it, just be very mindful that you are not used as a political pawn.
Who is going to use who?
Well, let's see. Listen.
You think these politicians, these opposition parties, Halifa Sallah, Ousainou Darboe, these people are amateurs, and that Barrow he's going to be able to kind of use them?
Let me ask you a question. You've invited all the 19 political parties to a meeting. All right? At the end of the day, a communique would have to be drafted. Would it be based on consensus, or would it be based on
I do not know that. You don't know it, neither do I.
No. Let's say if we were to go and say, okay, we're going to come up with a consensus. With a communique. There is a disagreement. Let's put it to vote on what is going to come out. No, let me tell you.
It's not about a vote.
No. And then now we put it to vote and say, you know what? 17 out of the 19 opposition parties agree with this communique, but UDP and Kenya Doi do not agree with it. So what would that be? The outcome of it? It's like,
again,
all I'm saying, I do not. Musa,
you are jumping the guns.
I am not jumping the gun.
The question is, should we have a national dialogue?
And I
as much as I don't agree with Suntu Dafe, there's one thing that I do agree though. Let's have a national dialogue. Then the next question is, what is going to be the agenda? What are the things that we are going to talk about? It's not going to be like an open-ended. If the president is suggesting that let's have a national dialogue, okay, let's put together an itinerary or an agenda. What are the things that we are going to talk about? For me, I would love to have the draft constitution to be at the top of the agenda. I would like to, but in other words, there should be a negotiation, not whether we should have a dialogue. Okay. Hold on.
No, I was going to come to that.
Harama Daniel.
Okay.
The question is not whether we should now have a national dialogue. The question should be, if I were an opposition leader, would be fine. The national dialogue, we need that as a country. The question is, what are we going to talk about? What is the dialogue going to focus on? This is where they would kuchineka indi, and then we agreed, what does the country really needs right now? What are the burning issues? And for me, the constitution would be up there. And there are some other issues that should be up there. President Bitami didn't know more interesting. Now, look, with politics, Samba, when it comes to politics, we are all going to be suspicious of each other. None of them is going to trust the other party. But at the end of the day, it's about our country. It's not about
this is what I would have done. Man. A political leader.
A political leader.
One thing I can tell you, you cannot just wake up. A national dialogue is something that is supposed to be a serious matter. Musa, you don't wake up and tell us, we have sent invitation to all the opposition political parties so that they can come on Monday. This is 1 week before the meeting, so that we can have a national dialogue. Maybe you have to set up a preliminary group of these political parties to like the agenda to come up with an agenda. It's not something that needs to be rushed because it's not a matter of talk what, based on what. You don't set the agenda and then call me for a dialogue. If you want me to have a dialogue, let me be part of that agenda too. It could have, we can do it like in 3 weeks. But the first week, we'll have like a preliminary group of who would look at the agenda with the government and set up that agenda, and that agenda would be the basis of the dialogue. Why no le rek ñu waxtaan rek ku nekk for solta xaftaan rek taala dem state house talk. Come on.
You know
That's
what?
Amateurs.
You know what? For me, I think it's a move in the right direction, if you call me, if you ask me. If I were an opposition party leader, yes, I am going to be very much committed to so that we can sit down and have a national dialogue, so that I can articulate what my party believes in and how we can take this country to the next level. Yes, I'm going to ask, what are the things that we are going to talk about? Let's draft an agenda. Obviously, there is going to be an agenda before we sit down and talk. And out of that agenda, that let's say is coming from the president, let's call it now what it is. He's the president, and he's the one reaching out. It's not the other way around. It's not the opposition party sitting and saying, you know what, there is a need for a national dialogue, and they send an invitation to the president. It did not happen. It's the other way around. And they have every right for the opposition parties to sit down and say, you know what, there is a need for a national dialogue because the direction of this country. And then they send an invitation to the State House. But then the president is himself the one initiating it and said, let's sit down. I'm not, as a political, even for political reasons, I think it would be politically dumb not to be responsive to that invitation, if you ask me.
I'm not talking about don't be responsive, but what I'm saying, this is not a borrow dialogue. This is a national dialogue. Let's set the agenda.
Initiating it.
No, somebody has to initiate it, but you initiate it doesn't mean you just have to come up with the agenda and say, you know what, let's come. No.
Did they say they're the ones that are going to come up with the agenda?
They did.
And what is the agenda?
Let me read for you.
I'm just saying.
No. And this is the difference, because I don't come here and just say things. I follow these things.
Bro, you're the one who come and you.
He said the 6. They said they have 6 thematic areas.
Yes.
To discuss.
Yes.
Political environment.
Yes.
For sustainability, peace, and stability.
Yes.
Religious tolerance for social cohesion.
Yes.
ethnic diversity for national unity.
Yes.
Securing sovereignty, safeguarding stability and well-being.
Yes.
Media safeguarding the democratic space and irregular migration and empowerment.
Yes.
These are the areas.
These are Gambian issues. I don't have a
No,
problem with that
they are
agenda.
Gambian issues. One thing
I do not have absolutely no problem with that agenda.
Man, you know what I think should be on top of this agenda before you discuss anything? What the Gambia needs more than anything, more a constitution that is inclusive.
Absolutely, and that will not stop. That will not stop you. Now, when we talk about the democratic space, look, listen to one of the agendas that you read out. You said what? There was one that you said, the political
environment.
The political environment. Let me tell you this: the political environment, absolutely, the constitution is crucial and is critical. It's a contributing factor to that environment. Don't get into the detail. I'm just saying
I just want to go on a limb, and you say I'm going to tell you it's going to amount to nothing but a talk shop.
It's possible.
That's what it's going to amount.
It is possible. But okay, knowing that it's a talk shop, knowing that what you're suggesting, but you're still saying there is a need for this dialogue. Yeah, right?
There should be a dialogue. But Musa, go on dialogue. Let me tell you this that you don't even know. No, there is something you don't know. When I met with Ahmad Ba in France after the 2021 elections, we sat and I told him that there was a need for a dialogue, a national conference that includes everybody to chart a way forward for the country. We had that conversation. But this joke rek bena day rek na sen nañ nit ñi call nañ Halifa Sallah, call nañ Ousainou Dabo, yónnee leen letter, ñëw leen State House, dañoo meeting. That's not how you organize a serious dialogue, Musa. And just set an agenda. Come on now.
Look.
Give it a national face. Don't just sit rek, please. You agree with them all you want.
I remember here, to use my community situation, and this is years ago, which I'm sure you're aware of, when we had a big controversy here in the Atlanta community. No, we were divided. There were a lot of issues that are out there. People were capitalizing on it. I mean, you're talking about dividing people on ethnic, religion. One thing we had in common was the July 4th. We had 2-3 July 4ths, new organize. But you know what we did? We said, you know what? Whatever differences, but we didn't trust each other. We were at war online. You remember, I was in the middle of it. We were fighting each other like nobody's business. But when we said, let's sit down, because it is about our community, and let's discuss this agenda, let's discuss the issues. We did. And you know what happened after everything said and done? And this was almost 15, 20 years ago. We were able to put together the best. I mean, you're talking about an organization. Atlanta became the leading diaspora community. Ajera became one of the most powerful organizations in the diaspora because we came together. Because we can disagree on that. Then, but you know why we were able to do that? Because we sat down. We did not trust each other, and we said the only way we can salvage the only way we can salvage our community is for us to restore that trust. Is for us to know that, look, this is about our community. Gambia is too small of a community for us to religion, ethnic, or lala. When we joined hands and we came together, since then, we still remain to be one of the most viable community in the diaspora. Dialogue is important. Talk,
Musa,
there is a reason why we have those things.
Musa,
that is where talk about the issues of the community.
Musa, all I'm asking, don't act like they're gonna have a problem with dialogue.
I mean, you seem to.
No. Here in Maryland, GAA was a group of different organizations brought together to this GAA. And I was right in the middle of it.
You guys stole the
all I'm asking, no. All I'm asking, Moine, I have no problem with dialogue. Manila, when I spoke to Ahmad Ba, we met in France. We sat at the airport. I told him about this. Dialogue, man mayo. all we've been doing is how to bring opposition parties together so that they can have a dialogue. But what I'm telling you, Moine, you cannot wake up one day, 1 week, and say we have sent letters to all the opposition, Nyolen political party, Nyolen State House, New a national dialogue. This is not a bantaba. This is talking about the nation. I'm telling you, Moine, the agenda of it, to me, let's not turn it into something just a name of new game meeting. Right? Let's make it something substantive. You understand what?
Samba, like you, I do not trust this Barrow government. Like you,
I cannot mention
I am very cynical. Like you, even I could question my cynicism. I could question because of their transactional behavior. Right? We all said that. We all saw what happened. You just raised the issue right now. When they went and passed a bill, and that was nothing but motivated for political reasons. I get that. You know what I mean? I really do. It's politics 101. I get that. And it's even possible that this whole thing is politically motivated for their interest. I get that. But I also do know that there is a need for a dialogue. And I know Alaji Usainu Numukunda Dabo is not a naive amateurist that can be used. I know Halifa Saleh is not a naive individual that can be easily manipulated and used. I can guarantee you that. When they sit down on the table, man, I am so confident that they will talk about what is in the interest of the Gambian people. Understand what I mean? So let's have this dialogue. Whatever their individual motivations are, parties can have their own political reasons for doing what they do. I get that. But lolu wartata. Oh no, I don't want a dialogue. President Bini, President Bina. It's not about him. And that agenda that you put out there, to me,
I'm going yo man suma wax ji yow dafa melni yaa ngi tontuwaale ñeneen di ko boole suma tontu. I have never I have never told you that there should be a dialogue. I have a problem with the way that this whole thing is set up. People that you want to talk to, Musa, on a serious matter, you don't just send them a letter 5 or 1 week before a meeting and tell them that we have the most important meeting in our country. Parkland Dobo Senior State House. That's what I'm saying.
Well, I'm not they send an invitation and they crafted an agenda. There's nothing stopping the opposition from responding to that invitation, agreeing to it. Okay, Mr. President, these are also some of the other issues that we think is critical to be included in that agenda. They can do that. It's just like GAA, an organization. When you guys send an invitation for a meeting, an executive meeting, the secretary set out an agenda to the different executives. People would respond and say, okay, we want to add into the agenda, Lee. You know what I mean? Man, that's all I'm saying. Because man, link we read me. That doesn't mean it's in the interest of Barrow. These are typical issues that we need to discuss. Now, I don't want you to come back. Elegati Sibir, I talk my wade.
Oh, like you see the marketing, but what a guy, my guy, you
they were up to no good.
No. Have yo some problem why have galat. Your political antenna is so short. You do you remember even Barrow forming a political party when we were telling you Manma Bankane he's going to say no, I don't see that happening. That there is no way that this guy can survive without the unity. It's not going to happen. When I told you that
I did I'm gonna agree. I did say that because at that time I couldn't see how Barrow could survive without the United Democrats.
No, you couldn't because antenna be low. You don't see beyond
but Dama, I'm just preempting. Because it is very possible that Barrow would try to use this.
That's what he's going to do.
I mean, I'm not doubting that at all. But also,
I'm just not at liberty to divulge names because of privilege confirmation law. When I'm talking to you outside and you tell me something, I'm not going to come here and Musa only. That would not be this. But this whole thing, you see the red flag to me. There was red flag when I saw it a long time ago. When the dialogue was mentioned, and the first thing that came out of, so that we can see, even to try to pardon some people like Sabali. And this was way before, that was when Sabali was all the whatever, guy Dirimoy, all that stuff. They were cooking their things underneath. And guess what happened? Bam! Dialogue. There was a bill passed. The guy went to NPP. 2 minutes later, he was.
Samba,
Let's just wait and see.
I agree. They're very transactional and they're very political. Everything that they do, all they do is they don't even when it comes to even bringing parties together, they're not doing that. They're talking about decapitating parties. Because when you're talking about destroying parties, you're not really interested in. I know all that. I wasn't born yesterday, and I'm not politically naive. But what I'm saying is,
I think you are very naive politically.
But what I'm saying is, man, oluna, the leaders that are going to sit, we need that. I think even the optics violence, our country needs that.
But you know what Gambia does not need, though, Musa? Gambia does not only need optics. What Gambia needs more serious actions taken to solve our problems. It should not be made just cosmetic things of the optics of it, talking. No. We need more than that.
I do.
We need much more than that.
That is why we need a new leadership at the helm, people that are serious, people that are transformational, and we will be able to have the kind of dialogue that you're talking about. But until then, let's deal with the realities that we have. We are where we are. You cannot be having these wishes. It's really not there. Your question to me, what do you think about the dialogue? There is a need for this dialogue. But though you do have your reservations, because the initiators of this dialogue are very transactional, they're very cynical. Whatever they do is for political reasons. And I agree. But that should not stop us from having this national dialogue. I don't know what you mean by that.
Huh?
I'm not naive, but I'm incoherent. It's not now, my friend, I do understand that what did this guy say? Musa, if you have the experience these political leaders had with Barrow, would you trust him? Look, these political leaders, they don't have any experience that I don't have with Barrow too. You gotta remember, while they were there, I was there. Samba was there. A whole lot of us were there. So we have seen this movie. So don't think for a minute, they have some information that I do not have. I do have them. And I'm not saying this to be important. I'm not important. But I'm just saying that you witness how we came out of tyranny, how we were finally able to defeat Jammeh and usher in a new democratic environment. Man witness nako, a whole lot of you guys that are watching this, so you've witnessed it as well. So political party leaders then information it's not there. My good friend Demba Song. It's not that. No,
you are right. And Musa, the issue here is not so much of a vast disagreement. We believe that there should be a dialogue. To me, my issue is the manner in which it is being done. And yours is, you trust some of these leaders that they are not going to allow this thing to be used and where it's not going to be in the benefit of the people. So, but to me, again, you have 19 political parties. Most of them, they don't even know what their parties stand for. No, it's just like when they organized. Do you remember when they organized that coalition thing? Nebaro now is going to go for 5 years. Ne coalition what ended up happening? The majority of them voted. The two parties that said they were not part of it, they became the problem. And I hope that he is not going to turn into that, where you're going to have a conversation, where I come to a communique and say, you know what, let's vote on it. Then the majority will vote on it. Those that vote against it are, you see, they're not even interested in peace. We are talking about dialogue. But they see, even this communique that is reasonable, they reject it.
So it's going to be a voting issue. Something that you raised that I haven't also thought about a little bit, Moine, who are the people that are actually sitting around the table and having this dialogue?
Don't you think that we should know that the citizens should know that if they're having a dialogue on our behalf and say, you know what? Yeah. So what am I? This whole thing is rushed. Let it be a process. amal a committee of these parties to come up with an agenda. Go to the national radios and say, we are having this dialogue because we believe it's necessary. Li ak li mo nek problème bi dëkk bi li la ñoo wax. Su ko defee, at least you have a buy-in from the people. But to just have this sit down, you know, of the political class, you know, for naan fa seen coffee yeeg, naan fa seen ndox yeeg, naan fa seen juice, and then go home, and then you think that you solve the problem. You've not solved the problem. The people, you have to find a way of, if you find it so important to have this dialogue because of what is ailing our nation, you must find a way of making the people part of the process. It's not just a matter of Kylan opposition leaders, come and you talk, or political leaders, we have the dialogue, you go back home. No, let the people have a buy-in. Use the radios. It doesn't have to be today. Let's say that, you know what, February is the month of dialogue or whatever. At the end of the month, we will have a conference of all these leaders plus CSOs. To me, I would have even reached out to the diaspora.
Yeah.
There are diaspora issues who will be also at the table to discuss this thing. But by then, you have given the people the chance to say what they have to say. Somebody in Kaur, Dandi Mayo, can sit and say, and then you have people who will listen to these issues and say, you know what, these are important. So when you're talking about stability in the country, you will also be able to include the concerns of Musa Jeng. But to just sit there and just have an intellectual conversation and people go home, you touch your dialogue, that's not a dialogue. We're talking about a national dialogue, not a dialogue among only political leaders.
Yeah. My only thing, and again, I am very sympathetic with some of the points that you raised. But there are two things too. You gotta understand too, the moment you take an effort and then you make it like you make it to be out there, and then you give it a lot of time and back and forth. Believe me, what is that phrase again? They will kill the baby before it even, you know, the whole idea will be knowing, you gotta understand the politics and sometimes the sentiments that we have in the country. This national dialogue may never happen. Because the moment you want to get into the micro issues, losing your example, somebody from Kaur saying, man, mika day, national dialogue, the moment you get into that vein, because bro, we are a developing country, poor as hell, corruption, we have so many issues. You cannot reduce a national dialogue to micro issues, then definitely dialogue will do them fee.
But
what we need more, the dialogue, look,
you're not reducing it into a micro issue. You can come there, you know what?
You get
no, set the agenda.
In a Republican democracy, people have representation.
No, but
different people belong to different parties. Now, I would make sure a civil society organization should have a seat on that on the thing.
Do you think the diaspora should have a seat at that?
Yes, absolutely. I think a representative of the diaspora, you know what I mean? They should extend an invitation. And this is where I would query when it comes to people like Sankare. We have our issues. It was the diaspora, Motangen and liberation or the democracy that you enjoy today.
But
you cannot have a national dialogue without reaching out to at least, I mean, what was the name of that group? The ones that just had the conference in December. Bunyom Ki Falbi. I mean, the MSDG. At least reach out to an entity like that for them to sit there on the platform. Reach out to the diaspora. Let someone be on that. On the platform, to discuss our issues as well. I do understand that. I don't just want it to be political leaders and political leaders alone.
But that's what they turn it into. So what
I wouldn't want it to be but that. At least civil society is there.
No, but perhaps you know what's going to happen, Sabusa. If they go into civil society, they may invite somebody from Tango. Talk for also. But what I'm saying, Moine, if you're doing something like this, it's not something to be rushed. Because at the end of the day, you want something concrete and cohesive to come out of it. Even the Ajera meeting that you're talking about, before Ajera came into, there was a crisis that forced Ajera to come and form Ajera. Because of when what happened at the airport, when people were being arrested, there was a need, hey, if we do not put our differences together, we will continue to have this problem. We need to find a way of coming together. And but that didn't you know when I'm meeting Monday, no, because there was a process. I don't have a problem with having a dialogue. I just have a problem with this amateurish way of doing stuff, where you just wake up one day, sending invitation, everybody comes. Let it be something. Let it have a national character. Okay? Let it have that national character. People may even let us have our disagreement. That's okay. But you have to be resolute. You have to know what you want. But for that to happen, you have to have a buy-in. If you have a committee of different parties represented, different organizations represented, you have that buy-in. Musa Jeng can sit here and say they don't go anywhere. We are not going to agree to this. But it will not even deter you from the end goal. And that's what I'm saying. Don't just tell me on Monday, you come to the newspapers, read me, dialogue. Can the dialogue the next Monday? Like, wow, for what?
Well, there is this talk about dialogue for the longest, and I don't think they're going to go into a dialogue and it's going to be reduced to a communique and vote. I don't think, I mean, again, I don't think Halifa Saleh or Alhaji Hussein Udabo would kind of get into a situation like that. It's all going to be about name vote. That's neither here nor there. Again, I think it's an opportunity. Could it come out to be a bust and nothing would come out of it? It's very possible. Like a lot of things that we do. Munna possible never dialogue with a Daraduchigena. It would nothing be but, like you said, cosmetic and for the optics. I get that. But even with that, I am willing to risk it to have a dialogue. Nothing is going to come out of it. But also, it is very possible. The one issue that we have, and that is our constitution, this draft constitution that is sitting there gathering dust, this would be an opportunity coming out of that dialogue, and then there's a path. Okay, this is maybe something that we can pursue, and they will all agree to it. At least Jokosah legs for this thing to kind of start moving where it's supposed to be. But they can also discuss the political environment. What it's toxic. How do we reduce that toxicity? Those are some of the things that can be discussed. And again, when I know for a fact, NPP government does not have any intellectual monopoly, again, vis-a-vis to these other leaders. So when I'm not afraid of that.
And you know what, sir? Hopefully, because even talking about the constitution, most of these NPP people, and this is from privileged information, I think have convinced themselves that we are writing a constitution for Adama Barrow. Or the draft has taken so many powers from the executive. And also it's like you look at it, it's like they're not even looking at what can happen tomorrow. It's like, let's arm our president now who is at the helm with as many powers as possible. But forgetting that, this guy could be out tomorrow. NPP, as soon as Adama Barrow leaves, is going to be an opposition. That is, even if it stays being a political party. All right?
Yeah.
So then what's going to happen? If you give, let's say, the next president, Hussein Udabo, all these executive powers, because you thought that's what Barrow was supposed to have. And the reason why we had a problem with the 1997 constitution is the overwhelming powers that it gave Jammeh. And we said, you know what? We have to reduce those powers so that at least we'll have a more balanced governance process. But they're telling you, unless some of these things change, it's not going to happen because they're taking so many powers from the president. What powers are they taking from him? So these are the things. I hope that whatever dialogue they claim they're having, it will be in the interest of the country. It's not going to be waste of taxpayers' money or a talk shop.
And you are the student of the Constitution more than I can ever be. You know that making a constitution is a political process. I'm telling you, factions are going to jockey. People are going to be looking out for their interests. Sometimes very short term. They're not thinking that this is the law of the land and it's supposed to be here for the next billion of years. People don't look at it that way. Humans are humans. Political parties are going to look at the constitution and say, how can I create a law of the land that will going to help my party? Yes, I get that. Kunega a jockey. I get that. But beside the point, I still do believe a dialogue like this can give impetus to the to the making of this constitution.
But what I found in the constitution was that they took everybody and took them to Nigeria. Everybody and their mama was taken to Nigeria. And they came back and have an other meeting of this same thing.
And nothing came out of it.
So
we should not have a dialogue. We should not.
I did not say that. All I'm saying, Moine, maybe there should be enough reason for us to realize, we need to be very careful in how we, we have to be deliberate in how we approach these issues. We just cannot go and just go rush and do something else like that. It doesn't make sense, because what has it yielded us? They have had these meetings before. They packed everybody and took them to Nigeria. They said that group, whatever the group's name is going to negotiate on it. And what did they do when they come back? As soon as they go to the airport, what was the conversation? Or the UDP, the problem. Was eating because of that was the whole issue that came out of that dialogue. So it went there.
So Pazama, let me ask you this. With
and
all
I'm trying to Mimi, but I've not heard back from her. So hopefully,
with all your skepticism and cynicism, you are the most cynical person there is. What do you think would be the risk for the opposition parties to sit down and have a dialogue? What would be the risk? Like let's say you are a party leader. I mean, and I get it. You will make sure, we have to discuss the agenda. We have everybody's input. I get all that. But let's say you were to receive this letter, and then you're weighing it with your executive, and you said, okay, there's a reaching out coming from the president. He wants to sit down and talk about these issues, and these are the agenda that he put out there. I mean, what would be the risk? What would be the risk for them to sit down with Barrow? What would they do, politically speaking?
Here is the thing, Musa. What I would look at. I definitely would want to know the whole objective of the meeting. And if it is a national dialogue, who sets the agenda, Sibopam? Of course, somebody has to organize a meeting. Are we going to be part of those who would sit and look at the agenda and set it? Or are we just going to be players, just come to a meeting and we come to a meeting? Because to me, the whole objective of the meeting is as important, in fact more important than the meeting, Sibopam. What do we hope to achieve from attending this meeting? For us as a party and the nation being the primary target feeding. What will the nation gain from it? Who are the participants? Okay? Because here is the thing, Musa.
So, somebody is asking, and maybe that's right, because I haven't really seen even a copy of the invitation. You have a copy of the invitation?
I do not even have it. Okay, they just went to the papers and say, "Oh, the president is hosting this thing, like a meeting."
So definitely, you don't. Okay, let me put it this way. I don't think that they just went to the papers and make an announcement. I'm sure that they must have sent something to the political parties, party leadership, right? Possibly.
Guy, they said that they. Let me.
So maybe it's important for us to because this Lamin Jata is asking that, and I think that it's it is important for us to also know what's included in that letter, that invitation, and even who are the people, who are the parties, because I'm a political party. Party Musa Jeng are we supposed to be sending an invitation to fly-by-night parties, that kind of a thing? So again, man, I really don't.
Guess what? Up to the time of, because of Standard wrote this thing on the 8th of February, which was what, 3 days ago? All right? Yeah. And what they said was, all 19 political parties in the country will be written to.
19?
Yes, will be. The key listing will be written to.
Right.
And requested to nominate 2 people to accompany their party leaders.
Right.
We are writing to you on the 8th. Chances are they got this story on the 7th. Whoever they spoke to gave them this information will be written to. So when are they going to write to them? That on the 8th or on the 9th for a meeting that is supposed to happen on the 12th? Musa, this is the issue that
writing you, inviting you for a dialogue. I mean, obviously, the parties can also respond and talk about even the date. They'll be open to talk about even the agenda. They'll be. I'm just saying.
So what
someone invite me. Someone invite me. Let's sit down and talk. Obviously, my availability is going to be in question. Is it in conflict with my timing? Understand what I mean? Whether man I want to kind of proffer some issues that I think we need to talk about. So again, like I said, man trust na 19
These parties, most of them align themselves with Barrow. It will be a dialogue with Barrow's coalition versus 2-3 other political parties. That's it.
Those are 5-by-9 parties. Well, I'm going to if you're a registered party, why independent candidate more as parties more. It's about, I mean.
Musa, I love this. I don't have a problem. I want to reiterate this. I have zero problem with this conversation.
By Lolo, that's double talk. You seriously do have a problem with it.
I don't have a problem with dialogue. What I have a problem is how this whole issue is being handled.
He like another question, and I asked you that question, and you kind of just, Coach, I would really like to know what, in your view, are the risks for holding and participating in a dialogue. I genuinely want to understand your view.
Yeah, the transactional nature of Barrow.
That would be the risk.
I've said that you dismiss it. What I don't want to see happen here is the same thing that happened when they got all these opposition parties and tell them, come with us to Nigeria to discuss the constitution. When they went there, to give you an example, the agreement was, let's do an amendment. That's what the majority agreed to. Nyom Baifate, Nyom Ismail Sisek, and all these other parties. And the UDP was, no, we want this constitution the way it is, sent to the National Assembly because they are the only body that can change that. So, meetings have failed. As soon as they got back to the country, who did they blame for the failure of the meeting? Do you remember that?
Yeah, why Nyom?
So, no,
they don't have a monopoly on blaming.
No. Use it again. And this is what's going to happen. Musa, if you're having a national dialogue, and I think that is the same thing that may end up happening here. They would go to a meeting, they would come up with some ridiculous thing, make them, dialogue. And I know that's APRC because now they Gagi Amon meeting recently, to say that reconcile the Holocaust deniers and bring them all together. And they are first thing on the agenda. More if you want a political cohesion, Jammeh should also be pardoned. All right. And I can see the fly-by-night parties agreeing to that. And maybe 2 or 3 other parties saying that, you know what, that is a no-go area. And guess what's going to happen? A communique is supposed to be written. The majority would agree to that. Maybe UDP and DOI would abstain from that or voice against it. I'm just using an example, throwing names. And then what's going to happen? We had a national dialogue. By Nakaratura, the party being happening, all they bring is trouble here. UDP was the only party that did not agree with it. I don't think they are sincere. That's what I believe. And for a party that has been calling for,
that would be your response to Sise.
Yes. And for a party that has been calling for pretty much eliminating the opposition, Sibopa, I don't think he's interested in having a genuine conversation with that next thing, opposition. That's my thing.
Okay. Marisok, jërëjëf waay ndaw si. Send the invitation. Why invitation be got National consultative meeting with political party leaders. That's what the heading is. And then it went into the preparatory committee for the national dialogue, cordially invites to witness the national consultative meeting with political party leaders under the auspices of His Excellency, Mr. Adama Barrow, President of the Republic of the Gambia, date 12 February 2024, time 10 a.m. prompt.
What's the agenda on that thing, Sibopa? Thank you very much. So you see what I'm talking about. Sibopa Musa. What is that? Who is in that committee, Sibopa? That National Preparatory Dialogue Committee or whatever, consultative committee. Who signed it?
This is like an invitation card.
Okay.
It's an invitation card.
So you send them. So you're having a national.
Now, hold on now. Excuse me. I'm sure that they're sending this invitation letter to citizens and different people. Now, and I'm hoping, I'm hoping upon hope. I'm just saying, now I'm hoping upon hope. Now, this is not the same invitation that was sent to party leaders. You know what I mean? Political party leaders to attend this dialogue. I'm hoping that this is not just the invitation that they would send to, Musa Jeng or Bakari Jammeh out there to come to this. And it's not the same invitation that they sent to Alaji Usedu Numukunda Dabo and to Halifa Saleh and some of these big guns. Because I don't think
why do you always have to why do you always mention Halifa's Nakala Usedu's full name? Why Halifa? You just stop at Halifa Saleh?
Because it's just habit. I mean, it's just habit.
No, I'm Musa, all these ambiguities should not even have been there. That's what I'm saying. When you do things the right way.
Marisok, must send invitation, Bini.
Yes, thank you, Mari, for sending that. But what I'm saying, when you do things the right way, can you imagine today is the what? The 11th? This meeting is supposed to happen tomorrow. We are sitting here. Nobody can tell you clearly what this whole meeting is all about.
So did the political parties agree to?
I don't even know what they agreed to. UDP, I know the executive was supposed to meet. Man, I have not had a chance to talk to my boy folks to ask. I need to call him later to ask what he's thinking.
Dafa am parties yoo xam ne suñ fa demee xam nga li ñuy wax ne suñ fa demee meeting dina am suñ fa demee meeting du am. You cannot have a national dialogue of political leaders without the United Democratic. Then you might as well forget it. Then you're not having a meeting. I'm telling you the honest to God truth.
All I'm saying that when gis nga Lisa Musa si
so Halifa Saleh decided not to go.
I
can guarantee you that meeting is not what the paper is written on.
And gis nga when you're doing that, let's come back to Ajera. When you am meeting. I know you made sure the right players, the key players in this thing were a part of it. If UDP says they are not going to be in that meeting, Doi says they are not going to be in the meeting.
They will not be
So what kind of meeting are you having?
No, there would not be one.
So Mota Manela, when you do this, and let me repeat this again. I have zero problem with a dialogue. I just want it done the right way. This is about a country. This is not about some Kabudu Budega Atlanta. Ñinga xam ne toog naan seen ataaya ne dañu bëgg from an organization called Ajera. You're talking about the lives of over 2.8 million people. Do it the right way. Make sure that you have a buy-in from all the participants.
Okay?
From the people. Who knows?
Now, whether their party actually received, I have to believe now because Nyom Kini, the one that is supposed to be that new guy, that new office that was created. I know he's not a fly-by-night administrator. I just don't see the invitation B was the only thing that was sent to the party leaders. I seriously doubt that. Because that would be insult to themselves and seriously an insult to the people that you're reaching out, sending them an invitation. Really. So can't be regular send. And I seriously doubt that. Because
it looks like the meeting that I'm two phases. You have the political meeting, the political leaders tomorrow, and then on the 14th, you have a conference type meeting where they will discuss these thematic things, these 6 things that I mentioned earlier. And then there is this theme, our collective responsibility in preserving the nation, safeguarding the state, and securing our resources. And you know what is this akin to, Musa? Do you remember when the last elections, when they said that democracy is the recipe for stability? Do you remember that? When they had a meeting at the Kairaba Conference Center?
The democracy is the recipe for
stability.
Stability, yeah.
Yes. Do you remember that meeting?
Yeah, I think
when Dr. Sen came and turned everything up on
his head.
Yeah. So it's like pretty much a similar thing. Musa, listen. You can organize this thing with people and say we organizing a conference at the care about this thing and discuss this thing. But what I'm saying here is, and I want you to listen to be very careful and those that are watching. I wish they had done their homework. There is no need to rush into some of these things. Isn't it, all these questions that we are asking today, one day before the meeting, should have been answered 20 days ago. Nobody should have come here having these problems, where you are getting, snippets of invitation here, the whole invitation that they send the political parties. Everything should have been so transparent. that people will know what they are going, because this is not a dialogue before two individuals. This, in fact, this is supposed to be bigger than even a dialogue between political parties. This is supposed to be a dialogue between the government and the governed. So people will and then know what we're doing. But at the end of the day, to me, how can I take this seriously? But when you cannot talk about anybody who can give you clarity about what's going on. So you went to Kerfatu today, Ami Bojang Sisoho with John Charles Jai to talk about this thing. That's why I'm saying, when you feel that you have to wait 2 days before the meeting, 1 day before the meeting, that's when you go to a Nakalatura, to a radio or a program to talk about it. Musa, what stopped you from doing it 20 days ago? The problem, Musa, we don't do things seriously as a country. We don't take our time to do anything. We are just so reactive. We just wake up and you know what, this makes sense. Okay, 20 years ago, and then you just drop it on people's laps and say, you know what, it's tomorrow. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
From the 8th, when this thing was in the paper,
to be very honest, I didn't even know the meeting was going to be tomorrow. I had no idea.
It's tomorrow.
Done a very poor job of putting the information out there. But look, this is the thing. Skepticism, I get it. Being cynical, I get it. These people, their intention is all political, I get it. Now, is it possible they're going to force Davy is going to be, it could be a bunch of speeches. The president would go out there and just say the right things and the right words and all of that. Then sat down and Halifa would get up and say the right things and the right word.
No, I just like how Sultan has thrown the loose cannon at you now. Every statement is he right, Musa Jeng is just a loose cannon. I agree.
Well, and then Sundu did not like that.
he wrote that.
Oh yeah, he did. Manala.
Well, with our guest, there is somebody this thing. We spoke to her. She was supposed to come today. So I've said I'm still waiting to hear back from her. So knowing Senegal, I hope Nakalatura everything is okay. So I'm still waiting to hear back from her. As soon as we hear back from her, we'll definitely bring her on. And Sarian, I know you could not stay away. Thank you so very much.
No. I'm on break and I didn't listen any of, but I just listened one half of it, and I hear Musa Jeng talking about the supposedly meeting, and somehow he did not follow all the trends, but he speaking on behalf of the government as usual and saying that it must happen. This whole meeting is should happen and all that. So I think I agree the national dialogue needs to happen, but I think also there's a lot of challenges in that country. I think it needs to be based on good faith and the agenda stated, what will be discussed, and kind of draw a framework where issues needs to be discussed in a most transparent one, but not trying to do some PR whenever there is an issue. And what triggers this whole thing? I think the close proximity of Senegal's issue, and somehow let's go ahead and talk about it. But what is going to be discussed? Because we had a lot of issues that are happening in that country. Did the president or the government, wholeheartedly seek out to the other side to resolve this issue? Not a day before to send an invitation and have them come out there without them prepared and coming and discuss. So I don't know the whole detail, but I think whatever happens, I think they should be given enough time, and they need to look at the agenda, the stated goal, and have a good debate to move that country forward. So Musa Jeng.
And you know what, Sariang? Sorry to cut you off. This is GFA, the Gambia for All political party. Their response to it, yes, we really welcome this dialogue, but we believe it has to go through the inter-party committee.
Yeah. Yes.
So this is what I'm saying, Musa. If you have done your homework, all these things would have been addressed, not at the last minute, 4 days before the meeting itself, and then you're having suggestions from parties of where it should go through. So that's what I'm saying. I don't. It's just another
So
transactional.
Coach, you are saying that they did not telegraph all these inner workings to Musa again before he comes on for the people and by the people and defend that position. So where is the breakdown? Yes, sir.
To be fair with me, man, he asked a question.
Right.
What's your take on this dialogue?
Yeah.
I mean, based on some responses that I saw online, I said, look, for me, I think there is a need for a national dialogue, no matter what, because I don't think the government in any way would have an upper hand, that I can trust these opposition leaders, that they cannot be manipulated. Now, again, I totally agree. Even what GFA is saying, somebody can reach out, even the opposition themselves. What stopped the opposition, or in accordance to what GFA response is, that this has to be done to the inter-party. What stopped the inter-party of organizing this national dialogue? You have to look at it different ways. There has to be a national dialogue that, irrespective of who initiates it, whether it should have been drawn through the intra-party, whether it should have been initiated by Halifa Saleh, whether it should have been initiated by UDP or NPP, we needed to have a dialogue. Do you agree to that?
Yes, I agree to the national dialogue, yes.
Yes.
I do.
Now, should it be consultative in terms of, okay, what are we going to talk about? I totally agree. Now, a letter should be sent, whoever initiates it, and said, let's sit down and talk about these global issues. And each party would respond and say, okay, this is my take. This is how I think it should happen. Just like GFA saying it should be done through the, intra-party. I don't have a problem with that. But my issue is there is a need for that. And I don't think that there is any political risk for these parties, as far as I'm concerned, unless they think walking into a room, the power of the presidency and the incumbency that would kind of give him a leg up. I don't believe that. I really don't. So I don't think that there's a gulf in terms of our difference when it comes to this issue.
No, we all agree there is not that much of a difference.
That's what I'm saying. We agree that there should be a dialogue. Now,
our country deserve that.
Yes. But Samba, obviously, he's a very cynical, very suspicious of any initiative that is launched. And I get that. That is just part of his trade. For me, I'm independent, objective, and very...
Oh, my God. Thank you, Donald Trump. Go ahead.
No.
But Musa, just go ahead. Go ahead.
And then Sarian come out of left field.
Yeah. And because we have to keep you in check. Sometimes you lose your balance, and
he said, "I'm speaking for." But what I don't get though. So the meeting is tomorrow, Pasamba, and these parties have not committed to it yet, based on JFA's response.
I don't even know, because here's the thing: UDP, we're supposed to have an executive committee meeting to decide whether they were going to attend or not. So maybe that was going to happen this weekend. So what Musa, this whole thing should not have even, because this is not something that you organize and like people deciding that
I totally agree.
So Manela, this is my thing. Don't just go and
if the meeting is tomorrow,
yes,
and you're telling me that they haven't even gotten response from these parties.
It doesn't make sense.
Bogumom is a problem. You're having a dialogue.
But where is the problem? But where is the problem lies, though? What do you think is the problem?
From the people that initiate the dialogue. If you're going to call for a dialogue, and you want people to sit down, and the dialogue is supposed to be held tomorrow, but you have a global commitment from these political leaders. Forget about even 19. I tell you, if Mr. Alaji Hussein Udaba doesn't come, then there will not be.
What is your reason behind that?
Behind what?
Behind the comment you just made. Why are you calling Numukunda but you don't call Halifa that?
There is no reasoning. I said out of habit. So I'm saying, the most important part, Moine, yo Sariang, you know for a fact, So I'm a dialogue meeting and UDP is not represented. Be like, that dialogue. And let me say this too, not only UDP being represented. If Alaji Usainu sent an Almami Tal to represent, and Halifa sent Kini, the Banjul not former
Usman
Silla would represent. Bro, I can guarantee you, to me, that is not a serious national dialogue.
And guess what? Like Suntu has just confirmed, the UDP National Executive Meeting about this national dialogue is today. So
see,
that's less than 24 hours.
Now that's it. Now the other question is, when was this letter sent to them? You know what I mean? If this letter was sent 2 weeks ago and you decided to have your dying minutes, whether you go or not, I'm not going to blame the initiators. If this letter was just sent last week, in the middle of the week, I mean, I'm giving them 6-7 days, then definitely the initiators.
I think that's pure speculation, and I think you gotta let the folks that are entrusted.
No, more like what money. I'm just saying.
Well, but somebody just said the letter was there. I think it's a few days ago, because I literally watched Sisoho on Bronx yesterday. You know, I mean, she was going on. But what I'm trying to say is,
Musa, like, if it is few days ago, then the blame would rest quietly.
It doesn't give enough time to have an open and transparent discussion about issues facing the country. I think that's where the sticking point is. It's not one person who, this is not a UDP.
Suntu said the letter was not sent 2 weeks ago. I believe they received it on Friday. Now, that to me is not even respect. You want us to have a national dialogue. The meeting is starting on Monday. You send me a letter on Friday. That is a problem, a huge one.
Okay.
That is a huge problem. I don't know whether it's incompetence or just mere, or they're not even serious as far as this national dialogue is concerned. You invite a major party, your dialogue can be reduced to nothing. And let me tell you this. Halifa Sallah receiving an invitation on Friday to come to a meeting, national dialogue on Monday. I can guarantee you, if I were to bet, I don't think they would go to that meeting. I really don't.
And Musa,
and you know what? That means this national dialogue would be nothing.
Okay,
so Musa, these two players, them.
Musa, and you see where I was coming from. Is you see, we have to become a serious country. When a matter like this is that serious to you, you handle it seriously. You don't send invitation to people on Friday or Thursday and tell them, stop whatever you're doing and come to a meeting on Monday. It's nonsense. And if I were them, they should not even go. Yeah. Let them reschedule it. Let's have something serious.
I don't think they would. Look, you don't even have to advise them that. Now, again, if this letter was sent and they all received it on Friday, and you expect them to show up on Monday, Samba, are you crazy?
And the other issue,
we are a political party. We have to go through a democratic process. We have to look at the issues that we're going to talk about.
No, another process, Musa. Set the agenda early. Give them a chance.
I'm supposed to see. People make assumptions that I just.
No, but the bigger issue that you have, Musa, these are serious matters.
No, this guy is assuming me.
Coach, yes? And Musa, I have to drop up. But hey, the good thing is today, finally, Coach, after you lay out your insightful and persuasive argument at the end, and finally, Coach, you just heard Musa agree with your point. So
of course he has to. Man, to me, Musa just calls me this cynical guy. This guy.
No, you are not cynical. You are principled, and what you are saying makes complete sense. If we had to tackle the issue, you need to give enough time to the respondents to respond and lay out if they have any concerns or clarification. They need to write to you. You need to write back to them. And you guys synchronize, and that didn't happen.
We are on the same page.
Okay, with that, Musa Jeng, I think today you are all over the map, and I yield.
Thank you.
I am just
Thank you very
surprised.
much.
I'm just surprised. No, but Pasamba, I'm seriously surprised. These people really want to sit down and have a dialogue. And then these leaders didn't get this thing on, just Friday.
And you know what's going to happen?
And they want them to come to the meeting on Monday.
You know what's going to happen? I'm not at the UDP meeting, but I can hear Mr. Dabo Sibobam trying to reason. Listen, we don't want these people to use us.
Use it against us.
Blaming us for this to happen. So let's just go to the meeting. But you see, to me, that's not even helping our country.
No.
We have to do things the right way. Musa, yon ajere bu ñàkk fayda ba Musa xana so ne am meeting you have at least 1 week before the meeting you will send an agenda out, invite people to the meeting. 3 days before a meeting, a whole political party, and you have serious national issues that you want to discuss.
Bro, man, I totally agree. Again, this says a lot about the government. So they want to have an important meeting like this. They are seriously Ningal meeting jotuñ invitation be Friday, and you want them to come there on Monday. No, not only are you not serious, you don't even respect these parties.
They don't. What like anything they do is transactional. Like MSC is suggesting here. Chances are maybe even if one of these donor agencies pushing them to do it. Because the thing is they never do. It's like, what has this government ever done that you look at and say, you know what, this was a thoughtful process?
You remember Kini has been talking about this dialogue going behind the scenes.
CD has been talking about it. I know.
You know, there's always been this reaching out. I'm not being a time, sir.
More Alma-Vital and Alma-Mi has always been very open to it.
So for me, I'm not going to say, this has never been on their mind or some of the things that they want to do. Whatever the motivation is for political reasons. I don't think it is all about somebody else trying to do it and they roasting today. But Monday, I don't know about UDP. Maybe you're right. They will try to reason, but then I'm gonna send Gayangba. There are people that are they're not gonna take it lying down. And I respect that. And I also know for a fact, Pastor, you know Doi, you know Halifa, you know how process is so important. This guy used to drive us crazy with process. You really believe they will receive a letter on Friday and then show up at a meeting on Monday?
or even if they show up at that meeting, no, it's going to be rescheduled again. Because the whole agenda will have to be looked at.
Peter Williams, whenever if UDP do not honor this so-called dialogue, Musa Jeng would use it against them. I will never do that. Seriously. Process is important to me. Like I said, it is disrespectful to send a letter on Friday. Malima, Peter, it's very simple. I think there is a need for these parties to sit down and have a dialogue. But yes, I also do believe it has to be done the right way. And the right way for me, an amateurist, would be to send a letter and basically stipulate, maybe not even put a date to it. Now, we need to have a national dialogue. They all commit to it on principle. And then someone would have to initiate an agenda and invite them for their response to add to the agenda. And then you schedule, make sure of their availability. Because we don't also want, like I said, even if UDP sends just some guy, I don't think it will be a serious dialogue. If Doi sends just some guy, and you see me going back to those two parties, and maybe to some extent GDC, because in the absence of those people, this will not be a national dialogue. I can guarantee you that. So for all practical purposes, it has to be done the right way. The fact that they haven't, yes, Pastor, I totally agree. It was very amateurish. Again, I don't have the facts. And you know how soon to Dafe is. Sometimes he can say things. So I will not. How many all of you want to do my doors from a dog? With what Suntu is putting out there, you know. But Sufegene is just for, like this guy is saying, score political point. But if it is political points, you score, be like, then you don't watan, you think the Gambians are naive? They will not